Sir, did you do this portion in school? Not at all. In elementary school, maybe. Okay. Here we go. Vayigash Elov Yehuda. Yehuda decides to confront Yosef. Now, let's put ourselves in the heads of the brothers. Here are the brothers. They're in Egypt. Things have not gone well. You know, it seems to be one crisis after the other. You know, drama. Plenty of drama. If you're the brothers and you believe Hashem runs the world, and therefore everything has a reason, and all you have to do is connect the dots and you'll see the picture. In the beginning, things started to make sense. You come down to Egypt and the ruler accuses you of being spies. Well, they didn't get that message yet, but in the end, he takes Shimon away. Now, the brothers know that Shimon was the man who instigated the entire plot against the city of Shechem. Shimon and Levi, they were the ones. And it was Shimon and Levi who did whatever needed to be done with Yosef. They were the ones who said, let's kill him. Yehuda changed their mind, and they were the ones who threw him into the pit, and they were the ones who sold him. So the brothers come down, and Shimon is taken away, and the brothers say, well, we know why this is happening. It has to somehow trail back to Yosef. We did something wrong. What did we do wrong? We were 100% right. We didn't do anything wrong. Maybe, they said, when Yosef cried, we weren't sympathetic enough. It wasn't going to change our decision, but at least we would have been a little bit more sympathetic. We would have taken an extra 5 minutes before we sold him. I mean, that's really what it comes out. Now, which brother is being accused and being taken is Binyamin. Now they're confused again. Can't be Yosef, because Binyamin had nothing to do with Yosef. He didn't know about it. He wasn't part of the planning process. He was never offended by Yosef, and he wasn't there at the time. So the brothers who are trying to trace back the cause and effect are flabbergasted. They just don't understand what's going on and why. That seems to be the problem. But to make matters worse, the question they always ask is, how come the brothers did not recognize Yosef? So Rashi says a very simple answer. When Yosef left him when he was 17, he didn't have a beard. Now he's 39. He has a beard. You know, when a person grows a beard, you don't recognize them. Okay. We call that a simplistic answer. Why? Because Yaakov has a beard, and Yosef looked a lot like his father. So if you're standing before a person and you say to each other, you know, that guy looks just like our father, it's got to raise some questions. What's going on? Yosef probably looked a lot like Binyamin, because that was a full brother. Got to ask questions. What's going on? Then Yosef literally gives him a whole bunch of clues. But before that, let's say in America, let's say there's a fugitive, a criminal, a fugitive, and he's been hiding for 20 years.
Fugitive?
A fugitive, it's called. A criminal who's running away, we can't find him. And the last picture we have of his is 20 years old. So what does law enforcement do? They take the picture and they age it. There are a way on computers to make the person look older. What's he look like today? Then they'll take the picture and they'll show a picture with a beard, without a beard, with hair, without hair, with a mustache, without a mustache. The brothers, when they came down to Egypt, one of the things they did was they came in through all different gates. Who were they looking for? Yosef. Well, they must have sat there as brothers and says, you know, it's been 22 years. He was 17, now he's 39. What's he look like? I imagine he has a mustache or a beard or a haircut. You know, they probably did all that. Nothing. They're sitting right in front of him, they don't recognize him. Then Yosef says to them, you know what? Hashem, I fear Hashem. Got it. How many Egyptians even know the name Hashem? No. And how many Egyptians even fear God?
None.
Nothing. Goes right over their heads. Then he sits there and invites them over for a meal. So you're sitting around the table. And he's talking with them, and he's doing Jewish geography. You're the oldest, your date of birth is this and this. And how do you know all that? I have a cup. Yeah, right, a magic cup. Got it. Okay? Nothing. They don't get it. I mean, they still don't get it. Then he accuses them of being spies. So what do you do with spies? You lock them up. Imagine Jonathan Pollard, they accused him of being a spy for Israel. I don't think the United States government ever said to him, you know, Mr. Pollard, go back to Israel. And we'll believe you if you come back with your mom and dad. Or you come back with your brother. You don't send a spy back home because the whole reason he's a spy is to report back home. The last place you send him is back home. What did Joseph do? He sends them all back home. So what kind of a spy is he? You know, so clearly, he eats with them, they prepare food, it's kosher food, he explains them. He knows so much. He knows everything that nobody possibly could know. And the brothers, nothing. They don't get it. Nothing's
Kills animals, have sold in the
Shchita, everything, you know, salting it, nothing. So now, it's an interesting the conclusion that the Baalei Musar reach, and the conclusion they reach is that if you don't want to see something, no matter what I do, you're never going to get it. If in your head you're not interested, nothing's going to change your mind. What was Yosef's agenda? What did he want the brothers to do? He wanted the brothers to soul search. He wanted the brothers to think about what they did to him. And he wanted the brothers to come back and say, guess what? In hindsight, looking back now, we were wrong. We are sorry. He could not get the brothers to say those words. He accused them of being spies. What do spies do? They see something and they reach a conclusion. They accused Yosef of seeing things and running back and telling Dad his conclusions. In their mind, what was Yosef? A spy. Call him a snitch, a spy, whatever it was. So Yosef says, really, you like being called a spy? I'll call you a spy. We're not spies. Yes, you are. No, we're not. Falsely accused. Okay. Comes Binyamin. They find the cup in his bag. Now, if this was your brother, and the police come knocking at the door, and they say, you know, you're under arrest. What's the charge? Drugs. My brother doesn't do drugs. Never did drugs in his life. Well, let's go search your house. Ah, we found drugs. How'd you find drugs? My first reaction would be, you planted the drugs. Okay? Now, one brother stands up for Binyamin. You know what they do? They smack him. And what are the first words out of their mouth? You remember?
Guilty.
You're like your mother. Your mother was a thief. You're a thief. Now, Rachel is dead already. Yosef is 39. Yeah, she died by Binyamin. So Rachel is dead 45 years. Imagine someone in your family telling you when you're 65 and your mother died when you were 20 or 25, you're just like your mother. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous, right? It's crazy. Nothing Yosef does. And of course, they made Yaakov tear his clothes, so they tore their clothes. Then he has to replace the suits because he made them tear their clothes. And they're constantly, there are breadcrumbs everywhere, lines to be drawn, you know, like these little games where you have to draw a way out of the maze. No matter what happens, even to the very end, when Yosef said, I mean Yosef, the Gemara says he put his life at risk. Because they could have said, really, you're Yosef? So you're alive, you're not dead. I think you should be dead. And they were going to go, they could have killed him again, you know? What are you talking about? I had a dream, I was going to be the viceroy of Egypt. Nothing. And we all know people like this. We all know people that we sit down and we try to reason with them and we try to point out to them what they're doing and how wrong it is. And no matter how many proofs we bring and no matter how many things happen, they simply don't get it. They're so convinced that they're perfect, that they could not make a mistake, that they could never do anything wrong, that they don't have a clue of right from wrong. And and we train ourselves. We train ourselves every year. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Elul, Slichos, make a cheshbon hanefesh, we go to Hashem, we're sorry. But you know what? With interpersonal relationships, when we talk about people with people, no matter how often we argue and discuss and we try to bring information forward, and I deal so much with documents and contract law and all different cases of law, the courts are overwhelmed because there's just no way for people to accept responsibility. We tell people, you made a mistake, own it. If it's wrong, correct it. If you're sorry, say you're sorry. Doesn't happen. And it's not a new thing. It dates back thousands and thousands of years. So, Parshas Vayeshev, Miketz, Vayigash, Vayechi, in some ways, they're disappointing. They're disappointing because there never is a solution where you can walk away and say, finally, we cleared the air. Goes a step further. Yosef, when he finally reveals himself to the brothers, he asks, is our father still alive? And he asks more than once. Mm-hmm. So the Chidah says something very interesting. The Chidah says, what happened? He never questioned them so much before. So the Chidah says that when Yehuda made his plea to Yosef, he says, "Vanomer el Adoni, I was answering my master, your master. Yesh lanu ov zokein, we have an elderly father back home. V'yeled zukunim koton, and there's an elderly son. We have a youngest brother, Binyamin, who's a child. Not so much a child. He was married with 10 children. Guy's married with 10 children. He should be an adult by now. If he acts still like a child, then his wife has 11 children, and that's not good." V'achiv meis, and his brother, is dead. Now you see, that never was said before. It always said, and the brother, we don't know where he is. V'achiv einenu, he's not here. Yehuda, for the first time, now before Yosef, he says, and the brother is dead. And they all have cheshbonos. Had he been alive, he would have contacted his father by now. But Yosef said, okay, you just lied. I understand you're scared. But let's think about it. This is Yehuda. He's the king, right? Do you want the king to lie? No, it's not a good thing. Nor do we want the president of the United States to lie. We don't like lies. We don't like to live in a country. You do things. I got it. You take out a Iranian general. He's a bad guy. I believe you. Was there a need to do it now? You say yes, fine. But let's hear the whole story. Nobody wants a lie, because if you lie, then you are a liar. And nothing you say is true. I never know when you're telling me the truth or not. You're capable of lying. Okay? People lie. Do kids lie? People say kids never lie. Well, we all know kids lie all the time. That's come on. Let's get realistic. Kids lie. I want a cupcake. Did you ask mommy? Yes, mommy said yes. Mommy, of course, never said yes. You wanted a cupcake, so you said mommy said yes. It's what it is. People are scared. The truth is that we can always live with the truth. We can't handle the lie. You can never protect yourself against the lie. You talk about protection. You say Tehillim and you talk about protection. You can't protect yourself against the lie. You're sitting here. If someone says, you murdered somebody, how do you protect yourself? You don't have a video camera on you 24/7. So we can handle the truth. We can't handle the lie. So the Chidah says, the minute Yehuda lied, Yosef came clean, because it was a game changer. Yosef came clean, and he kept asking him, is Dad really alive? Because it could be all fake. Because you lied.
Who lied?
Yehuda. Yehuda says, and the brother is dead. Mm-hmm. Brother was never dead. And the brother may be presumed dead. That's different. Where people lie? Hospitals. You go visit someone in the hospital, and the guy is sick, and he asks his wife, or the wife asks the husband, what did the doctor say? and they're afraid to tell them the truth, so they lie. And there's a big question, is that a good thing or not a good thing? But if you're in the hospital and people are not telling you the truth and people are lying to you, how do you feel? You want the truth. You feel cheated. You want the truth. It may be painful. The truth sometimes is very painful, but at least it's cleansing. At least you can be able to get to the bottom of it. So the Chidah says that the minute Yehuda lied, it was a game changer. No, it made all the difference in the world. Okay, it all got convoluted. Got it. Let's go a little bit further. Okay, so the first message we learn is that the brothers never said, I'm sorry. Big problem. And the brothers never said, you were right. Also, a big thing. But Yosef says to the brothers, go, do me a favor, go back home, tell your father, Yosef is alive. And not only is he alive, but he's the ruler of all of Egypt. Okay, so they go back home, and they say to Yaakov, we got news for you. It's unbelievable. Yosef is alive, and he is ruler of all of Egypt. What was Yaakov's reaction?
Their lives.
Right. Yaakov also didn't believe him, okay? Yaakov also didn't believe him. Yaakov's reaction was, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So then it says that he saw the wagons. What wagons? The wagons. Vayaras ha'agolos. He saw the wagons. Asher shalach Yosef, that Yosef sent. And now he felt better. Why did he feel better when he saw the wagons? Because he remembered, the last time I was with Yosef, 22 years ago, we were learning the whole section of Egla Arufa. Egla, wagon, Agola. There's a play on words. Okay. The problem here is numerous problems. Number one, who sent the wagons?
Yosef.
No.
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh.
But this was on Yosef.
He saw the wagons Yosef sent. Well, Yosef didn't send the wagons. It says Pharaoh sent the wagons. So one Pirush says that the wagons that Pharaoh sent had an emblem on it that was an idol. So Yehuda burnt the wagons. Okay, I got that. Not a smart idea. You don't burn the king's wagons. Not the best idea. If the President of the United States sends to you Air Force One to bring you to Washington and you don't like the plane, you don't burn it. And that wouldn't be my advice to you. Cost a few $1 million.
Sell it.
What?
You sell
Maybe you sell it, but it's
But
a
don't
$1
use
billion plane or something. It's an expensive plane. So the first problem is Yosef didn't send the wagons. Pharaoh did. Another Pirush is something very interesting. Pharaoh said to Yosef, how many people are there? There was a few hundred, really. Okay, I'll send you enough wagons to bring the people. You need 10 wagons. So Yosef said to Pharaoh, hold on here. But besides a few hundred people, there's clothes, there's furniture, there's beds, dining room furniture, living room furniture, dishes, milchix dishes, fleishik dishes, Pesach dishes, milchix dishes, fleishik. I need not 20 wagons, I need 50 wagons. Pharaoh answered Yosef, very smart. Pharaoh said, don't bring any of your belongings. In Yiddish we say shmatas. You know what a shmata is? Shmata means
rats.
Junk. Don't bring your junk. I'll get you all new furniture. Come down to Egypt, I'll buy you Egyptian furniture, much better than your furniture in Canaan. I'll buy you new pots and pans and dishes. Now, it's not so silly. It used to be in America when people made Aliyah to Israel, they packed up their house. They brought their living room, their dining room. You know what they found out when they got to Israel? The furniture didn't fit.
Too big.
It's too big. Because the Israeli apartments are small. So it's silly to schlep furniture from America. You pay all the cost for shipping it. It's just cheaper to sell what you have here.
Buy there.
And buy there. It's just simpler. That's a reality,
That's what our people in Arcad did in 1972 to Israel. They use useless stuff a lot.
And?
They pay so much money to...
And they couldn't use it. They threw it all out.
Garbage,
It's garbage. It doesn't work. So, the truth is, Paro wasn't so wrong. When Paro says, forget about your stuff. That's ridiculous. Don't schlep your stuff. I'll get you new stuff. He was right. But Yosef knew that his father didn't want Paro's living room set and dining room set. He wanted his Jewish living room set and dining room set. And he didn't want Paro's bed. He wanted his bed, his style. So besides Paro's wagons, Yosef sent his own wagons. So Yaakov saw Paro's wagons. He says, okay, that's for the people. What about for my belongings? He got the message. You don't bring any of your stuff. Then Yosef's wagons showed up. And he says, now I know my son is alive. Because my son knows how I feel, knows how I think. Now I know. And we know what happened. Yaakov, on his way down, made a detour to Beersheba. And what did he load on the wagons? Trees. Now, who brings trees? I mean, when was the last time you went in your backyard and cut down your tree because you're moving to Israel? You're going to bring your tree with you to Israel. You don't do that. But these were not just regular trees. These were cedar trees. The wood was going to be used for the Mishkan. I mean, Yaakov's whole idea of life is different than yours and mine. Okay?
He took the plants?
He took the trees themselves with the roots and he wrapped it all up and he schlepped it down and he replanted it in Goshen. And when the Jews left Goshen 200 years later, they dug them up and brought them with them as well. So who supplied the wagons for that? Yosef. Who understood that? Yosef. So, Yosef understood a certain attachment to his belongings. Yosef understood that Goshen was going to be a mini Israel. We're going to talk about it next week with being buried in Israel or not, what right you have to be buried in Israel or not. Goshen was like an embassy. It belonged to, it was like part of Israel. And Yaakov brought all the trappings of home with him. We deal with this a lot. Older people, I have cases of older people where the husband dies or the family gets divorced. So here's a wife. I have a case of a wife, a mother, a wife. She's living alone. She lives in this big house, 3 floors. And the court's telling her she has to sell the house and divide the money between her and her husband. She doesn't want to sell the house. Why not? It's my house. I said, I understand. But all your children are married. All your children are gone. What do you need to live in a house that's 3 floors? It's an enormous house. You're one person. But it's my house. I said, I understand, Joe, but you went through a divorce. It's not just your house. It's your house and your husband's house. Oh, I'm not telling. The court's forcing her out. Husband stopped paying the mortgage. We're going to do foreclosure. It's going to sell. Where am I supposed to move to? Move to an apartment. You're one person now. Move into a car. What am I going to do with all my furniture? I'm going to sell it. No way. What am I doing? I'm not going to sell my living room or my dining room or my sewing kit or my sewing machine. I'm not going to sell my bedrooms. And people get very attached to their belongings. And when you try to sell it, it has no value. But they're attached to it. And they can't break loose. They just can't. They're stuck. We talk about this many times, where people are stuck in life. They just can't break loose. Okay. So now, Yaakov sees the wagons Yosef sent, in addition to Paro's wagons. Yaakov understands things that are happening, and he's ready to relocate down to Mitzrayim. They all come down to Egypt. And now, Paro says to Yosef, I really want to meet your family. Okay. So you've got to prepare the family to meet the king. It's not a simple thing, It's not so simple to meet the king of a country. We talked about that last week, when Michelle Obama met Queen Elizabeth. You got to be careful. You just don't grab the queen and give her a bear hug. It's not something you do. So the first one goes in is Yaakov. Yaakov meets Paro. Paro sees this great father of Yosef, who's so brilliant. Now Yosef's a young kid. He's 39 years old. How old do you think Paro thought Yaakov was at first, before he met him? If the kid is 39, okay, he has a few older
60,
brothers.
70.
60, 70. Yaakov comes in, and he looks like he's 500 years old. He's as gray can be. So the first thing out of Paro's mouth, which seems a little bit odd, is, how old are you? I get little kids asking me that all the time. I says, well, I was with Noah on the flood. And the kids look at me and say, and they really,
What did you answer?
I say, I was with Noah on the flood, in the table. And they say, yeah, really, what was it like? I says, we were scared, it was raining and windy, and they can sit there for 10 minutes listening to me tell stories about it. So the kids, and I have good fun on their cheshbon as well. So, Paro, of course, I understand Paro's question. Believe it or not, I understand him. Yaakov comes down, and there's this bracha. All of a sudden, the famine ends. And rains are falling, and food's growing, and things are... So Yaakov, Paro says to Yaakov, and then Yaakov gives him a bracha, the Nile should rise to greet you. So this Yaakov is a powerful guy, he has powerful words. I want him to be around for a long time. I don't want him to drop dead tomorrow. So he says, how old are you? He says, I'm 130, which is old. In those days, it was surely old. But Yaakov says, calm down. I'm not dying tomorrow. My father lived to be 180. My grandfather lived to be 175. I have the genes of a long life, I'm going to be around for a while. Now, he was around for another 17 years. It was not terrible, but, there was a famous story, either with the Shagos Aryeh or one of the great rabbis of Europe, that he went for a job interview in a shul, in a synagogue, and he was like 75 years old. And the president of the synagogue said to him, Rabbi, you're more qualified than anybody else we know. But, if we hire you, we could be burying you tomorrow. You're 75 years old. We're looking for a guy 25. So the rabbi said to them, trust me, I may be 75, I'm going to outlive all of you. And they say he lived to be 95, he lived another 20, 25 years. And the president died, and other members of the shul died. He outlived them all. So he was their rabbi for 25 years. I say this myself, when my father passed away, I was quite young. When my mother remarried, she was 45. And as you remember, my mother remarried a man who was 20 years older than her. Right? I told her, 20 years older than her. My father was 10 years older. I thought that was a lot. My mother was going out with a guy 65. He was semi-retired. My mother was a young 45. And this guy was 65, semi-retired. And we all said to my mother, what are you doing? In 10 years, he's going to be 75, you're going to be 55, you'll be a widow again. What are the chances? What was the average age of people in those days? 75, 80. What are you doing? And he lived longer than my mother.
Oh, yeah?
He outlived her. My mother got cancer, she died, he was still alive. He lived 3 years after my mother died. So we thought we were so smart that, he was going to die before her. Just the opposite. He lived longer than she. And he was good, because he was semi-retired. So he had a good job, he had good income. They traveled all over the United States, they traveled all over the world. So it really was the best thing for my mother. Mm-hmm. But here, we thought we were so smart, we looked at statistics, and we looked at ages, and we looked at numbers, and we thought we knew everything. And guess what? We knew nothing.
What's semi-retired mean?
Semi-retired means he wasn't working a full day from 9 to 5 every day. He was a chazan. Mm-hmm. So, he would go to shul in the morning, he would work with, he would teach bar mitzvah boys, but most of the day he was home, and then on Shabbat he would be the chazan in shul. But it was a great job. He got paid, let's say, I don't know how much he got paid, $70,000, $80,000, whatever it was. And you were living in Florida. He was living in a retirement community in Florida. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't cold outside, and my mother liked it. She had wherever they had their apartment, whatever, they had a pool and everything else. We loved going down there. It was near Orlando. We could go to her, and then we could travel to Orlando, The kids loved it. Everybody loved it. It was just a perfect fit.
So your father was 55? Yeah.
My father passed away when he was 52. Right. So he was young. And my mother was 42 when my father passed away. It's
So after 3 years
she married 3 or 4 years after we were all more or less married. Then she married. My father saw my 2 oldest sisters get married, but didn't see my 3rd sister and myself. We were married, My father was not around when we got married.
So you were young, right?
18. It was an interesting time. Correct. Okay, so Yaakov goes first. He meets Paro, and he has this whole interaction. Now the brothers have to meet. Paro wants to meet Yosef's brothers. Okay, so Yosef says to the brothers, I just want you to know something. Paro hates shepherds. See, in Egypt, animals, sheep, goats, cows are holy or special or gods. And shepherds, corral them and put them in gates and in pens. So you should just know, okay? Paro hates shepherds. So when Paro says to us, hey guys, what do you do for a living? What should we say? We're accountants. We're lawyers. We're doctors. What should we say? We're businessmen. We're shoemakers. We're barbers. Tell us what we're going to say.
Barbers.
So Yosef says to them, say you're shepherds. They said, hold on, okay, we're going to meet Paro. We want to make a good impression. You tell us he hates shepherds. He says, yeah. So you want the king to hate us? You bet. With a passion, you bet. And of course, Paro says, you're shepherds. That's very, very nice. I'm sure I could use shepherds around there. But you know what? I'm going to put you in Goshen. Why Goshen? Because of the king lived in the capital city of Thebes. Goshen was on the other side of the country.
Far away.
Far, far away. You couldn't get further away if you tried.
That's what they need.
And that's what they wanted. That's what Joseph said to them. Joseph said to his brothers, you know what I want? What? I want you guys to come to Egypt and settle, and in the Egyptian eyes, you're invisible. Because as long as you're invisible, guess what? No one will bother you. They'll leave you alone. No one will be jealous of you.
No assimilation.
Nothing. You will be fine. When did the whole Egyptian, we read about it in Shemos, when Paro says, these Jews, we've got to do something, we've got to deal with them, we have a crisis on our hands. When did the crisis begin? When Jews moved out of Goshen and began to resettle all over the country. When they no longer were invisible, things got worse. Okay? Now, think about that in America today. Newsday had an article. It was an interesting article. They were talking about the machete attack on Hanukkah time in Muncie. So the reporter was saying, if you think about it, Muncie has changed. Muncie is an enclave, an area where it has one of the highest percentage Jewish population. The Jews of Muncie are now in the mayor's office, they're on the city board, they're on the city council, they're on the school board, but they don't send their kids to the schools. So he says, if you're not Jewish and you live in the Muncie area, how do you feel right now? You feel like you're being pushed out. Everywhere. Monroe, 99% from Orthodox Hasidic Jewish. Muncie itself, Jewish, Vizhnitz, it's everywhere. So, of course, there's a certain, you push back. There's a certain resentment of what's happening. Think about Queens. For a while, the communities were changing, and then the Buchanan community moved in, and it stabilized Queens. Crown Heights didn't get stabilized, and the Upper Manhattan didn't get stabilized, but Queens got stabilized. But now it's changing again, because a lot of the Russian Bukharians are moving out of Kew Garden Hills, Riga Park, Forest Hills. They're moving still to Fresh Meadows, Jamaica Estates, but they're moving to the Five Towns. Everybody, I'm doing mortgages now in the Five Towns. Woodmere, Cedarhurst, Hewlett, they're all moving out. Who's moving in to Kew Garden Hills?
Boys.
What?
Not Jewish.
Not Jewish. A lot of the Chinese people are moving in from Upper Flushing. They also need to expand.
Wow.
So it's changing. Where I live, Richmond Hill, is very Indian, Sikh, Pakistani, And they like the Jewish community because the Jewish are tzniut, they dress properly, and it's a safe community. So, things are changing dramatically. And sometimes communities get stabilized, but very often they don't. People are always moving. Banks estimate that the average homeowner buys, sells, and refinances every 5 years. 90%, every 5 years. People are constantly moving. Starter house, bigger house, smaller house, upgrading, all through their whole life. It's very different. So, Paro, Yosef said to his family, you want to be safe. I'll take care of all your needs. Sit and learn, be in yeshiva, we're going to be in Goshen, be invisible. When you're not invisible, right, it creates jealousy. And jealousy often creates hatred. Where people say, why do you have what I don't have? And that creates anti-Semitism. Or it creates hatred in general. And it creates resentment. So there are many lessons that it's worth learning about. And Parshas Vayigash, Vayichi has those lessons. But we have to learn them, we have to understand them. It says that when Yosef and Binyamin met for the first time, they hugged each other and they were both crying. What were they crying? Yosef was crying for the first and second Beis HaMikdash and Binyamin's portion that was going to be destroyed. He had a vision. Binyamin cried over Mishkan Shiloh. He had a vision, which was interesting. The Sfas Emes says that each brother was more worried about the pain of the other brother than themselves, which is what brotherly love is all about. When you start worrying more about the pain of others than your own pain, it meant a lot more than what was happening. And there was a message here. Don't focus on yourself, begin to focus on others. And it's fascinating to see it. They say that the Asari Harugi Malchus, that died, were to act as an atonement for the 10 tribes, the 10 brothers who sold Joseph. Rabbi Akiva was one of the most famous ones. They say, who did Rabbi Akiva atone for? Some people say for Hashem, other people say for Shimon, which is interesting, because in the Torah, Shimon, during the days of Pinchas, lost 24,000 men. And Rabbi Akiva lost 24,000 students. So there's a connection.
Well, but you said Rabbi Akiva lost 24,000
students. And in the Torah, in Parshas Pinchas, Shevet Shimon, when they rebelled against Moshe in Arvos Moab, they lost 24,000 men were killed for Shevet Shimon.
How did they die?
They died by the sword of Shevet Levi.
So how this connection, you say this is...
So it's just interesting that they say Rabbi Akiva was there to forgive or to atone for the sins of Shimon. So the way you atone is, he sacrificed 24,000 students for those 24,000 men, and eventually Rabbi Akiva died for Shimon's sins. Because, as Rav Moshe Feinstein points out, the brothers never ever said to Yosef, we're sorry. Yosef said to the brothers, forget about it, it was God's plan, we were pawns, this is a chessboard, and we were just pawns on the chessboard and God was running the show. That's very, very magnanimous, it's very nice. But, I could always say that, I hurt you, forget about it, God wanted me to get hurt. But the truth is, the brothers should have said to Yosef, we see now that your dreams were real. And therefore, and we see now that you never poisoned. See, understand, if Yosef really, really wanted to cut out the brothers, sometimes one brother will want to cut out the other brother from any inheritance. Like Yaakov and Esau, how they cut each other out. If Yosef wanted to cut the brothers out, 17 years in Egypt, what could he have done? He could have gone to his father and said to his father, you know what, Dad? Should I tell you what happened? Did Yaakov ever know what happened? I don't know. We'll talk about that next week. But Yaakov was curious. I mean, at some point, you don't think Yaakov wanted to ask Yosef, what happened? I sent you to Shechem, you never came back. What happened? Now, was Yosef going to lie to his father? No. So if Yosef wanted to cut the brothers out,
He would tell him.
he would tell them. And he would be justified.
Would you be allowed to lie in that situation, like to allow for Shalom Bayit to?
You know, I don't know, because Shalom Bayis is very, very important. Hashem never told Yaakov the truth, because there was a cherem forbidding anyone to reveal the truth of what happened. So I don't know if anybody could have told Yaakov, and Yosef may have been bounded by the cherem to say to his father, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. Or he could have made up some type of a story. Or he could have said, I don't remember. I was hit from behind, I was knocked unconscious, I just don't remember. 1 minute I was standing there, the next minute I was on this wagon train down to Egypt, and I was tied up as a prisoner. You know, I don't know. Remember also, Yaakov was in Egypt. People in Egypt knew the story. They knew this Yosef. He was sold as a slave, and then there was a false claim against him for rape, and then he was in jail for 12 years. I mean, there was a story out there. People knew the story. So Yaakov could have heard little things. Of course, Yaakov was all the way out of Goshen. Everybody who knew the story was in the capital city. You know, Osnas knew the story. Potiphar knew the story. They were nowhere near the family.
But they didn't know the whole story, I mean, from the beginning.
And they didn't know the story from the beginning. The one person who knew the story was Yosef. And the one person who could have easily, you know, if he was the Yosef they thought he was, the tattletale, the brat, the kid only interested in himself, he would have told his father in a heartbeat. And Yaakov would have thrown them all out. You know? And he could have. Because remember, the whole goal was always 12. That was the magic number, 12 tribes. Yaakov could have said, Binyamin had how many children? 10. Yosef had how many children? 2. We have our 12. So you could have said to the children of Leah, you're out. The children of Bilhah and Zilpah, you're out. The 12 tribes come from Rachel, my wife, not my concubines. And the children, Binyamin's 10, Yosef's 2, that's it. So the magic number 12 could have been easily
Yeah, Binyamin had 10 sons.
10 sons.
Wow.
So you see that? So there were possibilities, and you could have diverted or redirected history to meet your agenda. But they were so wrong about Yosef. That means there were so many opportunities that they could have sat there and they could have said to themselves, if Yosef really was who we think he was, he could have really messed us over badly, and he never ever did. You would think that after everything is said and done, and when you come to realize, whoa, our brother never ever did anything he could have done. We would have done this 10 times, and he never did it. And yet, they never said to him, you know what, Joseph? You were right all along. Boy, we got it wrong. We are sorry. The hardest words to say. I am sorry, hardest words in the world to say. I think I love you is also hard to say, but you know, these kids are still young and impressionable. We want to keep you optimistic. Okay. So some final things. It's already 9:45. Tomorrow's a fast day.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, Asara B'Teves.
Yeah,
What is
tomorrow.
it
well,
for?
you did.
That was when the siege was put around Yerushalayim. It starts at sunrise and ends at 5:30 tomorrow night. Asara B'Teves. Today, whose yahrzeit was today? Ezra HaSofer. Ezra, whose lettering that we use, Sav Ashuris and everything else. Ezra, he was a Kohen. Ezra's yahrzeit was today. Yesterday was when the 70 rabbis translated the Torah into Greece, the Greek language. So these last few days have been very instrumental. Anyway, the Jews were supposed to be in Egypt for 430 years. In the end, they were there only for 210. How many years were they slaves? 86. And it's interesting. Yosef took from the fields of the Egyptians only 20%, 1/5. So therefore, you take 430, 1/5 of 430, or 20% of 430 is 86. So since Yosef only took food from the Egyptians' mouths for 86, 1/5, 20%, the Jews were only enslaved for 86 years. The Leviim were not enslaved because he didn't enslave the Kohanim. Take the word Leviim, Lamed Vav Yod Mem, that equals 86.
I thought they were slaves for 210 years.
They were in Egypt for 210 years and they lived very comfortably. But the slavery, when the Pharaoh said we have to enslave them, the taskmasters, was only for 86 years.
Oh.
For 100 and something like 30 years, they were living comfortably in Goshen. No one bothered them. Okay? So, things, the Vilna Gaon tries to show how everything is midah keneged midah, how everything has a set form and everything, is the way it is. Yehuda said to Yosef, I'll take Binyamin's place. Yosef, of course, says, no, it doesn't work that way. He who does the crime does the time, you pay the fine. Who are you? You didn't steal the cup, he stole the cup. Yehuda said, listen, if you keep Binyamin here, I can't go home anyway. My father told me I cannot come home without Binyamin. So either way, I'm stuck. So I might as well work instead of him. I'm stronger, I'm more capable. You'll get the job done and let him go. Besides, if he's a thief, why would you want to keep a thief around the house? Where are you going to put him? You're going to put him in the palace? If he's a thief, then he has this tendency to steal, so you're going to have to keep an eye on him anyway. So I'm not a thief, so keep me around. So Yehuda was using logic, Yehuda was trying to say to him that if he's a pathological thief, you don't want to keep him around anyway. Send him home, get rid of him, send him out of the country, let him go home. I can't go home no matter what. I'm stuck. If I'm stuck, let me stay here and do what I have to do. Okay? So it should be whatever it is. Yehuda also said that when you asked us questions, we gave you true answers about our father, about our brother. And when someone gives you answers, you shouldn't use it against them. That means when a person is communicating with you and gives you information, you shouldn't use that information against them if they give it to you honestly. And the final thing is, what convinced the brothers that Yosef was who he was is he spoke to them in Hebrew. And the Chassam Sofer says that Hebrew is a funny language. It just doesn't survive in people who don't have a heart for it. He says that during the Babylonian exile, a lot of Hebrew was forgotten. People didn't have the heart for it. He says the fact that after all these years, Yosef could speak fluent Hebrew to them, Lashon Kodesh, was a sign that he was Yosef and that he was still the real deal. Because that was not a language very common in Egypt. Pharaoh himself did not know. Pharaoh prided himself on knowing all these languages, but he didn't know Hebrew. So the fact that Yosef spoke to them in Hebrew was a sign of things to be. Okay, next week we'll see what we can figure out to close out Sefer Bereshis. I'm here next week. The week after, I probably won't be here. What's today? Today is the 6th. So next week is the 13th. So I'm here, but the 20th, I'll be in the Holy Land.
What is Bereshis?
So 2 Mondays?
That's the book we just
No,
finished.
one Monday.
1 Monday?
Next Monday I'm here.
Or Bereshit?
So only 1 Monday?
Then I won't be here after that.
He's going to have
So,
after Shabbat.
How do you say Django